Hello everyone, I'm Magenta Fantasies and this is my third devlog. First, before I discuss Outcasts of the Rift, I would like to take a little time to share my new studio logo. It was about time I designed one for myself. In this video, as the title implies, I'll be talking more about the characters of Outcasts of the Rift and less about the game itself or the game development process. Outcasts of the Rift is a heavily character-driven game. Across the 7 storylines, there are over 30 characters that you can recruit into your brigade. Even though it has a large playable cast, it is important to me that they feel like individuals and that players are invested in what happens to them. As you talk to them and use them in combat, you'll befriend them, and you'll see how their interactions with you and the rest of your brigade develop. I'll give you some insights into my character creation process. For those of you unfamiliar with Outcasts of the Rift, I describe it as Fire Emblem meets Pokemon meets Redwall. Outcasts of the Rift is a story-driven RPG and uses a grid-based tactical battle system with a wide variety of skills for units, as well as an overworld that can be extensively explored and features problem-solving and light puzzles. And the characters are all animals. I'll be talking about them in more depth in this video. When designing characters, I almost always start with a concept, personality, backstory idea, and more, then build a visual design around it rather than vice versa. This probably comes from being an authoress and having written several novels and short stories. Next, I think of visual elements that show these qualities. These can be symbolic or use shape language or color symbolism. Visual elements can also be subverted to make a character the opposite of what one would expect. I use some visual elements as is and subvert others. I'll use Aigui, one of the Outcasts of the Rift antagonists, as an example. Despite her innocent appearance, Aigui is a very ferocious character, and her pointed spikes suggest danger and aggression. Her design also has plenty of round shapes, which soften her appearance and make her cute at the same time. I try to pick color schemes that suit each character, but are distinctive from one another. Color symbolism is helpful here. Shizuka's colors are not only suitable for night missions and camouflage, but also have a nocturnal theme. Maris's colors suggest water and the ocean. When designing the concepts and personalities of the characters of Outcasts of the Rift, I thought about what species of animals would suit each character's traits. Some came easily to me, while others required more brainstorming. In some cases, this process influenced the appearance of my characters as well. Finding and combining sources of inspiration is part of the joy of creating characters. All of the characters have multiple sources of inspiration. These traits could be personality traits, physical traits, how the character is meant to be perceived by the audience, how the character functions in gameplay and the storyline, amongst other qualities. Let's discuss the main characters. Dawn is a marten, an animal related to ferrets, minks, and weasels. To avoid spoilers, I can't go into too much detail about Dawn, but I'll give you a hint. The fact that she is a marten also connects to the fact that she is a shapeshifter. I wanted her to be an animal that is relatively small so that the environments feel larger by comparison. To fit the theme of Dawn belonging to both Europe-inspired Ronsfleur and Asia-inspired Kikuseki, I also wanted her to be an animal that is native to both Europe and Asia. There is some fascinating mythology about martens, and that will emerge as a plot point. Dawn's main color is yellow. Together with Sentio and Lisette, they form the primary color wheel: red, blue, and yellow. Dawn wears a mix of black and white, which represents how she is split between many different groups. She also needs to wear neutral colors to offset her bright fur, otherwise her color scheme would be too garish. Purple serves as an accent color in her outfit because it is the complementary color to yellow, and because purple is a mix of red and blue. Dawn has connections to Ronsfleur, which is represented by blue, and Kikuseki, which is represented by red. Purple is a mix of both red and blue, which symbolizes Dawn's connections to both empires. Next we'll look at Michel. He contrasts Soufflé, who you'll see next, in colors, shapes, and personality. A domestic is another word for a servant, so it makes for a fun visual pun for Michel to be a domestic animal. He wears a suit, so the dapper black and white markings of a tuxedo cat fit him perfectly. Michel is not physically imposing, but he is agile and can move silently. In pop culture, cats are often portrayed as being snarky. It's common enough to be a trope on TV tropes, and they're often portrayed as mean. Michel can be extremely devoted and affectionate, but he's not always the nicest fellow. Most cats are one-person animals, or only like a few people, and are aloof or even hostile to others. Aside from Dawn,
Michel is not concerned with pleasing his allies. He will always tell them what they need to hear rather than what they want to hear. Now it's Souffle's turn. As I mentioned with Michel, Souffle and Michel are meant to be foils of each other. Souffle is soft and fat with fluffy white feathers, the opposite of slim and sleek black and white Michel both visually and in personality. Souffle is a naive idealist who is trusting and sees the best in others, while Michel is a worldly cynic who dislikes and distrusts most animals. I wanted Souffle to be a domestic animal, continuing the domestic pun. Souffle is a Faverolles chicken, a French breed known for being especially cuddly in looks and temperament. Just look at those feathers! Chickens are maternal, sociable, and affectionate, but they have a feisty side. They are also excitable and scatterbrained, much like Souffle. Next we have Shizuka, who is a gecko. Geckos are not only so fast that you'll miss them if you blink, but they move silently, are stealthy masters of camouflage. Many are nocturnal and have excellent night vision. They can stick to walls and ceilings, and can sneak into anywhere. They're the quintessential ninja of the animal kingdom. Like Shizuka, most reptiles come across as level-headed and serene. After Shizuka is Maris, a heron. As I mentioned earlier, Maris is associated with water and the ocean, so I wanted her blue-green color scheme to reflect that connection. Maris has an elegant stance and moves gracefully. Her species, the gray heron, is native to both Europe and Asia. Like with Dawn, I wanted her to be an animal that is native to both continents. The ribbons in Maris's garments suggest water flowing. I wanted her to have some amount of flow to her garments while still keeping them light. Maris's outfit has an ocean motif. Her outfit is bedecked in pearls, which come from the ocean. Her sun halo is shaped like a wave, and part of her wand resembles a shell. We'll look at Sentaio next. Sentaio's role in the Kikusekin royal family mirrors that of Lisette in the Roncefleuret royal family. While he is not the most powerful member of Kikuseki's royal family, he is the one who appears most prominently in Outcasts of the Rift. Sentaio needs to look bold, powerful, and imposing, but also resplendent. His design shows this in several ways, not only by his species and size. Based on the rough scale I established, he's about 8 feet tall, but his design also shows his wealth and status. Fitting the Pan-Asian-inspired Kikusekin Empire, he needed to be an animal from Asia, so a tiger was a perfect choice for him. Sentaio's attire is inspired by a combination of aesthetics from samurai and Buddhist monks. He is a warrior of immense talent who wields light magic and can use it to harm or heal. Sentaio is majestic, but ferocious when provoked. His main color is red because the Kikusekin Empire is represented by red. The other members of the Kikusekin royal family have red as a dominant color as well. Last, but certainly not least, is Lisette. Lisette is the matriarch among the princes and princesses of Roncefleur's royal family. While Lisette is not the most powerful member of Roncefleur's royal family, she is the one who appears most prominently in Outcasts of the Rift. I wanted her to be a species that is imposing, loving, and fierce all at the same time, so I made Lisette a bear. When not doing her duties for the Roncefleuret royal family, Lisette is very motherly and dotes on her loved ones. The Roncefleuret royal family is not the most stable family, but Lisette is a rock that her siblings can lean on when they need protection, comfort, or help. Inversely, she has no mercy towards her enemies and would tear anyone limb from limb that threatens her loved ones. Her main color is blue, since the Roncefleuret Empire is represented by blue. The other members of the Roncefleuret royal family also have blue as a dominant color. You may have noticed that Sentaio and Lisette are sitting, and the other characters are standing. This is to address one major challenge that I've encountered while developing Outcasts of the Rift: scale. In Outcasts of the Rift, the animal characters are roughly the same size as their real-life counterparts, with a few exceptions like Shizuka, who is a fair bit larger than a real-life gecko, otherwise he would be difficult to see on screen. I try to design the world of Outcasts of the Rift to accommodate animals of different sizes. For example, buildings tend to be built to accommodate larger animals, so Dawn, who is about 2 feet tall, looks small in most interior scenes. Through trial and error, I found a range of sizes that would make the smallest characters large enough to be seen clearly, but the largest characters would still fit on screen. Movies have the luxury of panning in and out, and also being able to show characters from a wider variety of angles in the same scene. This was something that I observed while studying how different movies portray characters of different sizes. Another major challenge with Outcasts of the Rift is that depending on your choices in the storyline, you can recruit different characters. This led to a great deal of shifting characters around in the storyline and deciding at what point each one is recruited. Balancing 3 factions was also a challenge. It was a matter of trial and error to see how each character fits into the game, and I'll continue to balance and readjust as I work on Outcasts of the Rift. Because many characters are optional recruits and one of the optional gameplay modes includes permadeath, I write the dialogue in a way that accommodates that some characters are not present. If a character dies, either that character's dialogue will be omitted entirely or another character will speak those lines. Because of this, in each chapter's script I keep track of who can be dead or not recruited at that point in the story. So far it has been a challenge to write conversations this way, but the payoff will be incredible. This style of writing incentivizes players to recruit as many characters as possible and keep them alive. This also means the player's actions and gameplay can directly and indirectly impact the story. Very early on, I decided that not all characters would have portraits. Only the playable characters and some major NPCs do. This not only saves time, but allows me to have a wider variety of NPCs. One way I expedite creating assets for my characters is by using vector graphics. These can be scaled up or down without becoming blurry and pixelated. I create the character portraits in Adobe Illustrator and scale them down for the sprites. I create the initial portrait assets so that they are articulated and can be easily posed. This way I can create multiple poses and avoid having to redraw body parts. The articulated limbs make creating sprites vastly easier. Instead of drawing each change from frame to frame, like with traditional frame animation, I can pose characters for each frame, then duplicate them and alter the pose for the next frame. One of my favorite parts of Outcasts of the Rift has been creating the characters. They're a delightful group, and one of my favorite casts I've ever created for any work. I'm the type of gamer who becomes very attached to the characters in games I play. I hope that Outcasts of the Rift players enjoy playing as the characters and interacting with them as much as I enjoyed creating them. Go meet them yourself when you play the demo on Steam.
Overall, I'm very proud of the cast of Outcasts of the Rift. To be notified of future devlogs, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My goal is to release at least 2 devlogs a year. If you could take a brief moment of your life to hit the like button, I would greatly appreciate it. Every like this video receives will help the YouTube algorithm direct more potential Outcasts of the Rift fans to the game. To keep up with the most recent Outcasts of the Rift content, please follow me on my Instagram and Tumblr accounts. Farewell until my next devlog.